here that you have the government policies under your development system definition, which you also need to take into consideration. And then finally, you're going to look at, okay, this is my product, how big, how many people can go in at one point of time, what kind of image that I want to show. Remember, before we went, he asked you to create a mission vision. That should be underpinning your presentation. Okay? That image, the location, the security, everything should be interconnected. So ideally, what we looked at here, this Ritchie's model, is also same as what you are going to look into your blueprint. So to make it easier for you, please use your blueprint as your major feedback. So if people were asking me what structure should I do, this is the structure. Introduction, demand side, supply side, look at the excellence slide, how you want to develop and your marketing. That's your structure for your presentation. If you look into your journal, there are 7 questions that you need to answer. And that would be your pillar of answering your question. First is, what will motivate the people to visit your place? Why? Second question, who are you targeting? Next, are there any other tourism stakeholders that you plan to work with? Like you want to work with government, like you want to work with less rivers. Okay? You need to know that because this will also make your life easier or your life difficult. Who are you going to work with? Third, what you need to consider, like tourism life cycle. If you are in a destination which is really developed, then you might have much more things to consider than an underdeveloped area. Because developed area means you already have tourists coming in. So you need to look at what you can improve in that area. When the story, what kind of story you want to tell them? That is really important because people today are connecting to the story that you are telling. If you're looking at Generation X, Generation Y, Z, there are differences in this generation. Each one of them want different narrative. So you cannot fit all the narratives, but you can pick your target market and create a narrative for them. Generation Z, like your generation, are so much more into greenery, nature, wellness, compared to Generation Z, baby boomers, which they have different things. So your narrative has to be suitable for your target market. Okay? The location where, that's very important, so that's why your assignment to you helps you to pick the where. Based on your data that you have collected, the interviews that you have done, you are now going to look where is the best place for you to present your idea. And finally, how can you make this to reality? Number 1, how can you develop it? And number 2, how can you turn it into reality? When you talk about turning it into reality, that's when your government policies will come in. How much money you have. You don't need to consider the money for this assignment, but you need to make sure that your idea is visible for development. Consider you have the money, but you need to make sure it's realistic. Okay? Like for example, there was a suggestion, I think 3-4 semesters ago, to create an underwater restaurant in Phuket Island. Do you think it's visible?
At the moment?
At the moment?
You mean at the moment?
Yeah, because you're planning now, so you're presenting now. So is it visible to have an underwater restaurant in Phuket Island?
I heard a lot of people complain before.
Exactly. Phuket Island has already going through a huge sustainability issue. So what would an underwater restaurant bring an effect? Although the idea is visible, it can be done, but the huge environmental question you need to consider. Waste management needs to be considered because the island is already suffering with climate change. and also the island is already overcrowded, right? So the idea is really good, but where you want to fit that, you need to think. Okay? So that's why planning is really difficult. It's always good to travel. And talking about the Phuoc Island also, the most important thing here is the carrying capacity. When the capacity is overloaded, it's going to cause an issue not only to the environment, but also to the local residents living there. We can see many local residents are really upset because tourists come in and they inflate the cost of living. And I'm saying that, I don't want to pay tourist prices. That's a huge, huge problem today in many countries. So let's look at Venice. Venice is a really good example for over-tourism, for local residents issue, and not only that, but it's also a huge field with sustainable issue. So if you are doing a river, Venice could give you a guidance on what you need to do. So let's watch this short video, and then
Venice right now is like a Disneyland. If we don't find a solution, it could be a Machu Picchu, a city with the beautiful marbles, but without a real life, without citizens.
Here are being rented out to tourists. I'm nearly 50 and I'm having to share a flat. A lot of local shops, like your butchers, your bakers, your dressmakers, all the local services have been transformed one by one into souvenir shops, tourist restaurants, fast food places. Nothing seems to be catered for us anymore.